Hey, this is Lauren with TMF Apparel USA, and today we're going to talk about DTF, DTG. What's the difference? What's the benefit? What's the downside? What's the cost? Should you buy it or shouldn't you buy it? That's what we're going to talk about. But first, hit that intro. Boom. So what is DTF and DTG? If you're following my channel, you've probably run across one of my videos that talks about it. TMF Apparel, obviously, we do custom t-shirts, custom apparel. And I've been in the apparel game now for about a year and a half. And I started off doing HTV, heat transfer vinyl. I did sublimation printing. Then I went down the path of DTG, which is direct to garment. Literally a printer printing an image directly onto the t-shirt. And then through this process, I have also done DTF, which is direct to film printing. Now, let's talk about my struggle, my journey, what I've learned, what you need to know before you even consider getting into any of this. First and foremost, HTV, pretty simple, right? You buy vinyl. Vinyl's not too expensive. You can buy rolls of it. You can buy small pieces. They have a boatload of colors, glitters, foils, everything under the sun. The added benefit to HTV is, well, you only cut what you need. And they have a lot of cool vinyls. And it really outlasts most of the time the shirt. From my experience, you put vinyl on it, dude, it lasts freaking forever. The downside is you got to weed it. Ugh, weeding takes forever, right? So if you have a complex image like the one on my shirt here, that would be kind of cumbersome to do. You could even do the full flag in HTV. But you could do, multi-layers. And if you have a bunch of words, it is absolutely treacherous to weed them out. However, the cost of vinyl can be kind of inexpensive. If you're doing full backs of shirts or, large pieces, the cost is a little bit more. So keep that in mind. You need a vinyl plotter. You can pick one of those up for $300 to $500 for a decent vinyl plotter that'll, probably cut 24-inch vinyl. And the software is relatively inexpensive. Some of it's even free. To get started, you just got to vectorize your graphics. If you're doing just, lettering on t-shirts and simple phrases, HTV is a good way to get in the game. Then I went down sublimation. Sublimation is basically converting a regular inkjet printer or buying a sublimation printer, which is still an inkjet printer, and using sublimation ink printed on a piece of paper that is sublimation paper. And then you press it onto basically a polyester shirt. And you press it on there at like 400 degrees for like 90 seconds, and it will transfer that image onto the shirt. Now, with sublimation, you can only really do polyester. Now, I did go down all of the rabbit holes of sublimation, which is they had papers on there that you could print and cut, which were more like a heat transfer. It kind of turned it into your own heat transfer. And I had a lot of issues with colors fading. I had issues with contour cutting it where you load it into the silhouette. I use a silhouette myself. So you print it on your printer, you load it in the silhouette, you registration marks, and then it would cut it. It'd be a little off, and then you scrap on that thing, and those things were $1.50 a sheet. So then you're just burning money left and right, plus the ink. Plus I converted the printer. Now the converted printers aren't that expensive. I had some Epson 7720s. And I put a CISS system in it. So I had like a little ink tank thing that pumped into it. The ink is not that expensive in comparison. Maintenance wise, head cleanings were pretty normal. Wasn't too crazy, but I didn't like how confined you were to really printing it on polyester and really light color polyester. I mean, sublimation is made for white polyester. Let's be honest. That's what it's made for. So kind of limited. And even though I tried the other products out there that were for it where you could put it on cotton, I just was never really satisfied. Sometimes they would look good at first and then they'd wash out. I just wasn't happy with it. And the one thing that I'd never tried was the Solvent Transfers. The main supplier near me, which is Perfect Press HTV, they sold a lot of those. I never really got into them. They look great on the wall, their displays. I just never went down that road of buying into the solvent stuff. They print them down there and you can go pick them up. Solvent printers are expensive. So that being said, solvent printers are expensive. I went down the road and bought a DTG from Omni Omni International. I bought a free jet. And my experience with the free jet has been ups and big downs. Big ups, big downs. So when I first bought the printer, it worked great, man. Like honestly, my learning curve for the original get it and go wasn't that bad. I was printing, kind of couple days out of the box. I was printing on shirts. I'd pretty much figured it out. I'd watched all the videos. I got the training call and I knew pretty much everything that was going on with the printer. I'll tell you this, what I didn't know was really look, they have maintenance videos on there, what you're supposed to do with the printer, how you're supposed to maintain it daily, weekly, monthly. Here's the problem is that when the inks start to clog the head and you don't really know how to really get it out, you're just running head cleans, head cleans, head cleans. That's all you know how to do is what the printer does. They don't really tell you how to take the print head and really clean it, make sure the ink lines are clean, the dampers. There's so many other things into owning a direct-to-garment printer that you are unaware of on the regular that cause big headaches. I cannot tell you how many days I went in and just needed to print like 4 shirts that I sold online, and I spent 3 hours trying to get the fucking machine to print. I can't tell, like just to print anything one time. I can't tell you how many shirts I wrecked because it would start printing and then it would have a problem. Or, and I would tell you this, a lot of it was user error. A lot of it was like I load the platen wasn't even, the platen height was wrong, I didn't reset it. Pre-treat was never really an issue for me. I wouldn't really say pre-treat was an issue, but it was always something, maybe a setting in the software that I missed because I was, not paying enough attention. It's always something. But I'll tell you this much. Once you get a head strike, it's just downhill from there. You get a little bit of clog. What I wish I would have known is what I know now, which is how to really take apart and work on these machines. What does damage the head? What doesn't damage the head? What, clogs the dampers, how to clean them out. All the different inks that you can use in the printers and the benefits to them. Had I known all of that, if I were to buy a brand new free jet today, out of the box, I don't think I would have a single issue running it, aside from some of the little like software bugs they get from time to time, where for whatever reason, it just, the print head carriage gets stuck in the capping station and whatnot. Those issues do seem to come up more often than not on the free jet. I don't know why. It's really just an Epson R2400 printer on a CNC gantry. So whether or not it's some kind of communication error between the R2400 and the gantry unit that's causing these, I'm not 100% sure. I know for a fact that I ate up some print heads on that thing. I ate up some main boards, some sub power boards. Like, they are so absolutely finicky when you are working on them that if you do not know what you're doing, you are going to burn up some shit. And I have burned up some shit on that free jet. My free jet has been down now for 5 months. I have not printed on it in 5 months. The last time I was attempting to print on it and I had issues, I did get a hold of OmniJet. It was under warranty. They sent me out new boards, and it was worse than it was before I put the boards in. So currently it's still down. That being said, with everything I know now, if I were to buy an Omni, I wouldn't buy a new one. I'd buy one that is in good working condition that's used because somebody else is just tired of fucking with it. You can get one for less than half of what they go for new. I mean, probably $5,000 to $7,000 range for a free jet TX. Don't buy the TX Plus. No point. It's completely oversold gimmick. You don't need anything the TX Plus has to offer. TX is fine. If you want to go down the free jet, the TX is fine. The overall printer itself, as far as like its construction, the whole gantry thing is solid. I do like it about that. It's fairly easy to work on. Just being honest, once you get into it, it's pretty easy to disassemble it and take stuff out of it and, service the head and stuff. But there are things that you need to pay attention to, like the dampers. The dampers will cause ink flow problems, which in turn cause head printing problems, which in turn cause banding and shit prints and everything else. I would say more often than not, it's going to be an ink issue. I have used, and I've made just other videos about inks, but I've used several different inks from DuPont to Kodak to Image Armor to Creeks to now Big Boy inks. And there is a drastic difference between them. Some of the whites clog up the same day. Literally, I could be printing a shirt in the morning and a shirt in the afternoon, and I could just have just nothing but problems in between the two. Whereas now, with what I'm currently doing, I almost have zero problems. Like, I'm almost too comfortable to even talk about it. That's how knock on wood it kind of is. So, if you're watching this video and you're wondering about a free jet, don't buy a new one. There's plenty of people out there selling good ones used. Definitely understand that there is a steep learning curve, not just to the machine, but also to the software. And if you're not comfortable with taking it apart and you're not knowledgeable on how to navigate what I wouldn't consider Cathari to be complex software, but I would say it's above average level of knowledge. And also not even knowledge, but just comprehension of software and buttons in it and what they do and terminology. Like, I'm very fluent in Photoshop and Adobe Premiere and Illustrator and a lot of these programs that have 1,000 features. Cathari is not too different from that once you start playing with it, to understand how to manipulate the software, tweak the software, check your settings, make sure everything is set up correctly so that you get the best prints. If you are not tech savvy, DTG is not for you. That is just me being completely blunt. If you don't really understand the through and through of a lot of software or hardware related issues, don't buy a DTG printer. There's nobody out there, there's nobody you can call that's going to help you on the regular basis. You're going to be relying on Facebook information, which is 50% right, 50% wrong, and 100% opinionated. And you're not going to get the answers you need in the time and manner. So you've got shirts that you want to print or things you want to do, and you're going to be super frustrated. Period. And they're a lot of money. Now, if you are tech savvy and you do feel comfortable going down this road, DTG printers print money. No lie. You're talking the cost to actually print a shirt anywhere from 30 cents or a quarter to $2. And my benefit to it was that I could just have hundreds of designs online and I could print them to order, and the setup time is the same regardless of what the shirt is. So I like that aspect of it. I can digitally create all of my shirts, and then when one sells, I could just load it up and print it, which is what I still do now. And I love that about it. I also love the fact that it prints awesome images. All the DTGs print just phenomenal artwork. And for me to design that artwork is also much easier than having to do it in like Illustrator and create these vectorized images that have to be layered upon layers. I don't like that. So that's a benefit. Moving on from that to the other printer I have, which is an AirRen DTG. Now, these are the only two DTG printers that I have experience with. Bear that in mind. I don't have experience with the Ricoh RI1000 or 3000 or any of the Vipers or like the DTG Pro units. But I will say this, from what I have gathered in this industry and online and research and everything else, is that they're really not that different. Most of them are Epson-based printers. So my AirRen is a Chinese model. I bought it used off marketplace. Local guy sold it to me. And the learning curve was also kind of steep, but I had already owned the FreeJet for 8 months before I bought this one. So I had some knowledge of how the entire machine should have worked. What I didn't have was the same rip. I could have bought the Cathari for it. It was still expensive. I ended up buying white rip, and I'm very happy with white rip overall. I think if I had bought Cathari, I'd still be happy. But white rip, I am very happy with using it. It was kind of pricey. It was like $1,300 for the rip software on top of the printer. Now the printer did come with acro rip. I didn't like it. It just was limited on the black shirt printing. I print a lot of black shirts, so that's kind of an issue. So with the AirRen, I've been super happy with it. It was much cheaper than the FreeJet. It's also real easy to work on. It takes up a little more space, but the platen size is also bigger. It has refillable ink cartridges. It doesn't have tanks, so the cartridges kind of suck to refill. I can buy bigger ones, but the ones I have now, which is what I've been using because it came with it, And overall, I haven't really had too many issues. Now, the issues I have had, I was user error for sure. Like, oof, 100%. Head strikes or, you know, just the typical stuff, ink clogs and try to clean it out and mess something up. I've just had issues. Now, since I've switched my inks to these big boy inks and the Creeks inks, I haven't had any of these problems. So I moved the printer to my house. I can print every day. I pretty much wake up and I'm like, all right, we're gonna head clean and let's rock and roll. So my cost of actually printing it with it has been phenomenal. And the only time that I've really had an issue is something I load up a shirt and I send it through with the wrong print setting because I just had it set up from another one. It's just stupid shit. Sometimes you just do dumb shit. And one thing I will say in White Rip is it only holds 100 shirts in the queue or 100 prints. Once you get to 100 that's in the queue, anything you send, it's just going to print the last one that was printed. So that's happened to me about twice. And I'm like, burned shirt. So there's that. Outside of that, I've been printing on it and the DTG stuff has been great. I've been printing freaking phenomenal prints. And I've been printing single pass prints, which has been exciting. Now there are some, if it's like a big solid color design or like multicolors, but they're all real solid and thick color and vibrant, I still run 2-pass because when you run 2-pass prints, the white ink layer is definitely thicker than doing a single pass and the colors are more vibrant. So there are certain shirts that I still run 2-pass on. Now, let's move on to the last part of this segment, which is DTF. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically printing on some of this, which is PET film. It's like kind of like a piece of plastic film, basically. And it's got a coating on one side and the other side is not coated. And you load it up and you print your image on it in reverse completely. So not only is the image flipped and it is backwards, mirrored image, but you also print the color layer, then the white backer. So when you print on a DTG garment, like if you're putting on a black shirt, you're going to print down a white base, then your color on top of it. With DTF, you're going to print down the color with white on top of it because we're going to press it backwards. The whole thing is backwards. Now, you can print on DTF film on your DTG printer. You just put it on there, tape it down, set the print height to where it's at, let it ride. It's not that complicated. You are going to adjust your color settings because the shirt soaks up a lot of ink. When you print on cotton or any kind of fiber, it soaks up the ink pretty well. When you print on film, boy, it's just going to pool up, son. It's just going to pool up. So you don't need as much, which is one of the cost benefits that the DTF community puts out there is that you're going to use less ink. Your ink percentages will be less. Now, I have found with White Rip, I've used all kinds of settings. Sometimes I use higher white percentages than others. I have been using if you're using White Rip, I've been using the dark color setting for vibrant images on anything other than white or black. And the difference being like in the software, I know Cathari does this. So when you print it on a white environment, it does not use white ink, just prints color only, right? Because the shirt is white. So you would use the same setting if you were printing a DTF transfer. You're putting it on a white shirt, it's going to be white only, right? No white ink. If you're going to do it on black, well, it's going to print it the same as it would on a t-shirt, which is a gradient white. And then it's going to use no black ink at all. Anywhere there's black, it's not going to print anything. My problem with DTF and doing that is that the fade from color to black or whatever that other layer is very ugly. It's not smooth. If you just print like right on a garment, it fades well. It doesn't fade well. So to curtail that, they use halftones, and I'm going to get into halftones in a minute. But what I've also noticed is that black, when I print an image that has black on it and colors, and it puts white ink on top of the black ink, and I press it, the black is not black. The black is more grayish. When I print it with dark environment, it doesn't back the black with white, and I get a better print, for sure. By far a better print, which I have been using. So we'll talk about that. Now, to continue on with the DTF process, you print it on the film right here. You get your image out. Then you put on some powder. Now, I'm using this stuff right here, medium DTF this is from Dtf Superstore. And it's basically just a real fine glue is what it is. And you just kind of sprinkle it on there. I have mine in a big white bin, and I just kind of filter my print through it and cover it and shake it, flick it off, and then you cure it. You put it under your heat press. You don't press it because it got ink on it. You don't want to ruin it, but you let it hover. Some guys put it in an oven. I heard people putting it on like hot plates. You just have to melt the powder into the ink. Once you do that, you can store your printed transfer or ship it or whatever for freaking years, right? You don't have to immediately press it, but you do need to powder it. You need to cure the powder. I would say I usually do it right away, but you can do it, I guess, same day or something. It'd be fine. Now, once it's cured on there, you can then press this onto your shirt, and you can press this on. Actually, you can press it on damn near anything, according to the DTF community. Shirts, wood, freaking anything it'll stick to, you can press it onto. Benefit: you press it for about 10-12 seconds. You let it cool off. You peel this piece off, and then you press your shirt for 5 more seconds. Now, I have pressed shirts that have had issues, and if it's a ink/film compatibility problem, or if it's just I don't know what else could be. I mean, it's an ink film powder issue. And then I press shirts like the ones that I did today that looked freaking phenomenal. I mean, they came out perfect. And I see it every day. People print them. Now, there are converted Dtf printers, which is basically buying a wide format printer, popping out the cartridges, putting in the Dtf inks, taking out some rollers in there that would leave little track marks on your print, loading it up with some RIP, and letting it print. And they're printing these in single pass prints only because you can't reload the sheet. Now, with a DTG printer, mine's just sitting on the bed, so I could print back over it. I can reload the same piece. I can print like little pieces like this, which is a huge benefit. Now, if you're running a regular converted printer, bro, you're going to print a 13 by 19 sheet. You better load it up because you can't print one smaller. It doesn't recognize that. It's only going to recognize certain size sheets. They can put it on a roll printer. You can just print. Dude, you got guys out there printing 50, 60 feet of transfers and selling them by the foot, gang sheets. Now, if you're going to print like a bunch of sleeves or chest, DTF is the way to go for sure. Because on 13 by 19 sheet, you can print a whole crap load of little arm logos or neck tags or chest pieces or whatever. You can print a boatload of them, and you can powder them and cure them all at once and then just cut them off and press them on your shirts, and they go pretty quick. No lie. Even if you're doing like a decent chest size, you could probably get 2 or 3 of them on some of these sheets. So it does have a place in the market. And if you can dial in your settings and your materials, DTF can be pretty lucrative. Now, it does have a little bit more of like a plasticky feel to it, and that it's not bad. It's not like really thick. I would say maybe kind of like a thick screen print. And if you half tone it, it's not as bad. And after you wash it a few times, it's not as bad. So I don't mind it. If you're doing hoodies, man, and press on a hoodie, no problem. Like we literally did my son's hoodie with this big DTG print on it. He pre-treated. He put two layers down. You know, it wasn't 100% cotton hoodie. It was like an 80-20 or 60-40. I can't remember. And it looked awesome, dude. The print on it was great. It was a tan color hoodie. And he washed it twice, and then he just scraped the print right off, which I hadn't seen on one of my shirts before. So I was like, holy balls. But he got the entire thing off. And we printed it on DTF, and we redid the exact same image in the same position with DTF, and we have no issues. It still looks great. It still looks as great as it did when we printed it with the DTG, and it's still on the hoodie. So it does have its added benefits for sure. That being said, you know, cost-wise, you're going to buy, the more bulk sizes you buy in DTF, the better deal you're going to get. I buy like 100 pack of 13 by 19 transfers, about $79. So you're 79 cents a piece. The powder is really inexpensive, man. You bet a pound of this lasts me a good while, and it's about like $12 or $15 for a pound, and it lasts me a good while. Outside of that, you don't need anything else. Now, I use the same ink. I'm using the same printer that I've been using. But if you wanted to get started with some cool custom prints, you know, maybe getting into a converted DTF printer is the way to go. And there are places like DTGprinterparts.com, DTF Superstore that sell converted DTF like specific printers with RIP software that are going to work out of the box. Now, keep in mind, the same thing applies, is that you still have to maintain them. You still have to use inks. You got to make sure they run. You've got to be able to clean them. And I think cleaning a DTF like converted printer is probably a little more difficult just to get in and clean it. But you can still do it. I would, if it was me, I would take the entire top casing off of it, just have the printer naked so I can get everything. But to each their own. So that's kind of an update on what I'm doing. My shirt sales have been a little bit slower than usual. I'm going to work on some advertising for that. But I've definitely branched out on my knowledge of the industry and my knowledge of the printers, of the processes. And I've used, man, look, I've spent time just learning it, trial and error. That's what I cannot emphasize enough, trial and error. If you're going to try it, just get you a scrap shirt and print a bunch of crap on it. Pre-treat it, press it, just put a bunch of designs. I got several of them. I just did a couple today that were just, trial and error on halftones. And I learned how to halftone it in Photoshop. And then I print a little, I don't print the full thing. I print a little test piece. It's a little one, I'll print something like that size, like 4x4. And then we'll press it. Now, if you're going to do someone 20, 30 shirts, you want to make sure that they're right. So pre-press it first and give it a good test run, and if you're going to DTG it, just pre-treat a scrap shirt, man, front and back, and print it on there. If you're ever worried, like, man, I wonder how this is going to look, just shrink the size and print a small one. Print 5 of them. Change your colors up. Because what I can say is a benefit to DTF is that, well, while the sheet is 79 cents, it's better than burning a shirt. I promise you that. It's better than starting to print a shirt that cost you $3 and then you pre-treated it, you spent time on it, and then immediately screw it up because something was wrong in your settings, versus the latter, which is like, well, I kind of screwed up this print on this film, but I can just print another piece of film. And then, for someone like me who keeps a limited supply of stock shirts, it does suck when you burn a shirt, and it's like, shirt rags are a test one. But that's where I'm at with the apparel line. I constantly come up with new designs. I'm constantly posting on Etsy. I want to say, if you want to support the podcast, you can always check out our Etsy link in the description below. I also sell on Amazon, but it's just easier to navigate through the Etsy platform than it is Amazon. I have 204 listings currently on Etsy, which is, man, I think that's a lot, and I'm still adding more. My son's designing them. He's designing his own from TikTok inspired viral videos and things that he likes, and we're printing them and we're making content, and we absolutely love to bring you what you need. So if you need any shirts, if you need shirts for your business, for your band, for your club, for your church, for your family reunions, for your friends, support the TMF Apparel podcast, support the TMF Apparel product line, support the little family business, man. We're trying to make it out here. We're trying to live our lives. And if you want to check out the other stuff, you can check out the Free as Fuck podcast on Podcast Planet. Until then, check the links in the description, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us some love, leave us some comments, tell me how we can help you. I will address all the comments in other videos throughout the week. So if you're doing this, you're considering doing it, you have shirts that you want to print, but you're not happy with who's printing them, you're thinking about starting your own business, whatever it is, leave me some comments. I'll do my best to answer them to the best of my ability and my best of my knowledge. And hopefully I can help you guys along the way. So until then, I'll catch you on the flip side.